My name is John MacDonald. I'm a Member of Parliament, but more importantly, I'm a member of UNISON. I've been a member of the union for 50 years now. I've been a member of the union for 50 years now. I was a member of NUPE before and a shop steward, and then when the merger took place, I became obviously a member of UNISON. I'm really proud to be asked to chair for the election of our next General Secretary, and the candidate I'll be supporting is Andrea Egan. And the reason... You don't need me to say any more, do you? Well, the reason I'm supporting Andrea is because I've worked with her over the years, and I've seen, to be honest, I've seen what sort of trade unionist she is. I've never seen anyone as determined and as committed as she is to our union. And over the years, in all their different campaigns, she's shown that she's up for a challenge, up for a fight whenever necessary. And she's already in her different roles. When she was president of the union, she started that process off of transformation. And the support that she gave in changing our funding arrangements, particularly for branches wishing to take industrial action, just spread the confidence that we have in the union and the confidence that she's displayed. So I don't think, this is my view, I don't think we can get a better candidate. And I think she'll continue the work of Time for Real Change, which is turning our union back into a member-led union that's willing to really listen to our members and really represent them. And again, I just think she's a representative, let's be clear, of our class. She's a working class representative. And that, for our members, is something incredibly significant. Having one of our own as General Secretary and leading this union is critical. I want to emphasize as well that in the notes I was putting down about Andrea, I was trying not to embarrass her too much about the passionate display she's had in all our campaigns and demonstrations and picket lines and speeches and all the rest. But she's made it absolutely clear as well. You know her background. She's a registered children's social worker, and that's been her passion as well, and that's been her career. But she's made it absolutely clear if she's elected General Secretary, she'll take the social worker's wage and the rest of the large sum that we pay to a General Secretary, I think it's about 160 grand. The rest of that will go back to the union, back into the fighting fund. I actually think that's incredibly symbolic, but also it sends a message out to our members that this is what our General Secretary is all about. She's one of us, and she's willing to, I think, really to demonstrate that on every occasion she's been able to. There's a number of key issues that will be facing the union in this coming period, and that's why we need that change of leadership. One of them will be as a result of having a Labour government now. We need, as a union, to reflect upon our relationship with the Labour Party and the Labour government. There can't be any more blank cheques. What we expect a Labour government to do is to deliver for our members. And that's why that relationship has to be one which says our members come first, not the party, it's the union that Andrea will represent. And we want to see our agenda implemented by a Labour government. But at the same time, if there are fights to be fought, I know that Andrea will be willing to lead those fights to ensure that our union holds sway on those policy issues that are so critical for us. That's why I'm here. You'll hear throughout a number of our speakers, you'll also hear how to participate in this campaign. Because the key thing is, as you'll hear, the key thing is people signing up, getting the information that we can then disseminate amongst other members, making sure we get nominations in for all the different elections we're fighting in this current period, because we want this to be, and Andrea wants it to reflect her personality, we want this to be a member-led campaign that's enthusiastic, exciting, but recognizing actually when we win, we will transform this union, and it could be one of the most influential, play one of the most influential roles in the trade union movement, but also in our wider movement right the way across society. And my God, we need it at the moment. with the levels of poverty that we have, the levels of low pay, the cuts in public services that are continuing on. This is the sort of leadership that we need. So that's why we're here. There's a number of speakers. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, which is Eileen Best. They've given me notes on each speaker, which I've said, actually, I'll rewrite these because they're all so modest. They're extremely modest. Let me just tell you, most of you know Eileen's a mental health worker. She's currently chair of UNISON's National LGBT Plus Committee, which she's been a member of for many years. She describes herself as a very proud Irish feminist socialist who is married to Claire, and they have a 15-year-old son, Finn. That's what they gave me. Let me just tell you, this woman leads campaigns in a way that mobilizes and motivates people. And she's here to do it again. Eileen.
Thanks very much for that. So I'm Eileen. I'm from the Northwest region because that's where I live now. I'm also a social worker, and as said, I'm on the National LGBT Plus Committee. I'm also really proud to count Andrea as a very close friend of mine, even if she doesn't always make it to parties or to nights out. But that's the measure of Andrea, because if she doesn't make it to a party or she doesn't make it to a night out, you can bet your bottom dollar that Unison's at the end of that. So the old adage is that what you see is what you get. And that's not necessarily true with Andrea, because what you get is very often a lot more than what you see. What you get is definitely honesty, definitely straight talking. Oh my God, even more than me. And what comes with that is an absolute refreshing burst of energy that allows her to be able to say, when she doesn't know the answer or the right route to take, it gives her the ability to say, I don't know, but I'll find out. And we often hear those words and we find out later there was no substance behind them. But there's always, with Andrea, a desire to help, a desire to support, and a desire to learn. And that willingness to learn and to grow and to support is what will be the undercurrent of Andrea's commitment to a truly inclusive union. I know that we will see actions and not just words. We've seen it in the past. When Andrea joined the presidential team, things started to change. There was challenge on the old ways and the old ways of working, the old ways of doing things. And we saw changes in attitudes and considerations. So I know from my own point of view that I was exactly asked that. What was my point of view? So there was no longer that someone was just putting things and ideas out there for me. Andrea asked me what I thought. And she asked me to go back to my comrades on the LGBT plus committees that I'm on and see what they thought. And she looked to me and my LGBT plus community to see our expertise on being us, on living our lives. Andrea didn't make any assumptions about how we might feel or what we might want. She asked us, and I absolutely know that she went to the other subgroups and asked them the same things. Years ago, when I got to know Andrea, some of the things that struck me quite quickly were the things that we have in common. And there are a few of those. We're both social workers, we're both wives, we're both mums, and that does give us a lot of commonality. But Andrea didn't assume that we had that. She recognised that as a lesbian and as an Irish woman who grew up in West Belfast in the 70s, that although we had things in common, our journeys were very different. And she spoke to me about my journey, about moving countries, about being part of an oppressed group, and managing to get to university and achieve a career, which isn't always easy when you're a Catholic from West Belfast. About being part of the movement that gained equal marriage, and then finding somebody who actually wanted to do that with me, which is no mean feat, trust me. And about us being a lesbian couple who now have a 15-year-old son together called Finn. Because they're the things that matter to me, and lots more beside. But I honestly know that there's very few people in this massive big machine we're all part of in Unison that have bothered to ask me or my LGBT plus family what impacts us. And I hear that over and over again. So I feel that now there'll be no more sidelines for the self-organised groups. There's real change coming. And we want so many more members to get involved however you can, from donating your time to sharing social media posts, signing up to this campaign, getting your branch to nominate Andrea, to giving us your money, of course. This team, and there is a team of us, is given a commitment to a truly inclusive union with actions and not words. We've got a first 100 days promise to convene a joint meeting of all the self-organised groups to identify our core demands, to understand challenges, but most importantly, no more lip service, actually making real change happen. And that, comrades, is why I want you to work with me, with us, and with Andrea to make sure that we get Andrea elected, supported totally by a left NEC, so that we can bring about more change for people like us. Thank you.
That was terrific. Thanks, Eileen. That was terrific. Our next speaker is Tasha. What's been great about the campaigns that we've done from Time for Real Change is that we've got a new wave of younger people coming through, standing for position in the union. And I think it's been quite inspirational. People with new ideas and an element of dynamism as well. But there's also been, I think, what came across, and I think Andrea generated this, as Eileen has said, there's an element of empathy as well. How you can consider what other people's feelings are and what they're up against and how we can support them overall. And I think that a lot of that has come from Andrea's leadership, but also the young people that have come through. So let me introduce Tasha. Tasha's a UNISON steward based in adult social care in Leicester. She'll be standing as the Time for Real Change candidate in the National Young Members female seat on the NEC. She's joined us today. She wants to talk about her experience as a young member in UNISON and how Andrea's pledges will improve the young activist role within the union itself and in the trade union movement more generally. Tasha, this is the future.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Tasha, and I'm so pleased to be here in support of our future General Secretary, Andrea Egan. I'm supporting Andrea to be General Secretary because when she says she wants to better involve our young members, she means it. When I talk to young members in UNISON, there is so many passionate activists who care so much, not just about their terms and conditions, but about working in public services that can be really proud of, and about creating a fairer society. And we should be encouraging these young activists to organise within UNISON to make that a reality. But unfortunately, what I also hear is a lot of negative experience from young members of getting involved in UNISON. Young members are often discouraged and they find that there is gatekeeping of opportunities in UNISON, whether that be of going to conferences or taking up positions in their branch. And this isn't necessarily a malicious thing. I think what's happening is that people are used to the same things being done by the same people for years, decades even. So there's a bit of a culture that young members should pipe down, make themselves useful by doing the casework and the social media, wait for the current lot to retire, and then they can and then they can get these big ideas. There's so much pressure on young members not to ruffle any feathers. The thing is, I became a trade union activist because I wanted to ruffle feathers. I thought that was the whole point. So as a young person, I face a housing crisis, the climate crisis, expensive, inaccessible and crap public transport, for want of a better word. And at the rate we're going, I probably won't retire until I'm 80. I can't afford to be afraid of ruffling feathers. So when we have young activists, young members come into their branches and regions with all these ideas, with all this passion, with all this energy, we should be making the most of it and we should be taking them seriously. Around a year ago, I ran to be chair of my branch because I had ideas about how to make the branch more inclusive for our members. And there's absolutely no way I would have done that. There's no way I would have had the confidence without Time for Real Change. And I didn't win, but I got 42% of the votes. Now that tells me that there is appetite amongst our members for change, and we should be encouraging young members to lead that change. Andrea's pledge to open a leadership school for young members demonstrates real commitment to putting young members front and centre of an organising UNISON. It is truly inclusive and will support young members to feel that it's just as much our union as it is anyone else's. Time for Real Change is a movement that recognises the passion of young members and builds them up instead of knocking them down. You can see this from attendance at our fringe meeting at Young Members Conference. We estimated that almost half of conference came to our fringe. Granted, Young Members Conference is small because we're not worthy of a full conference. But we were running out of chairs in that room, and that's because the issues I've just described resonate with so many young members, and they want to do something about it. And to do something about it, we need to get organised. Being a well-behaved young member who doesn't rock the boat only gets you so far. The bigger picture that we became trade unionists for, the fairer society that we are striving for, it gets lost in casework and bureaucracy. And to make change in our union, we have to challenge that. And Time for Real Change is supporting young members throughout the union to have confidence to challenge that. So I'm standing for the NEC in the National Young Members seat because I want to empower young members. Like Andrea and like the people I know in Time for Real Change, I have a track record of supporting grassroots activists, and I know what needs doing at the top to unblock the barriers that young members face at branch level to get organised. The first time I met Andrea, it was at my first women's conference, which was just after I'd ran for branch chair. And I was describing this experience to Andrea, the ups and downs, all the drama around it. And I got nothing but encouragement from Andrea. Andrea told me, that's brilliant, keep going, try again. And that's exactly what the message that needs to be going to our young members. Andrea, as General Secretary, won't just be a voice for young members, but she will empower young members to speak for ourselves. And I'm really excited to see what we as a union can achieve when we give power to our young members. Thank you.
When Andrea retires after her 4th term, can you think about it? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Okay. In the last year, well, maybe longer, one of the issues I've been dealing with, I was at a meeting this week about it as well, is the exploitation of migrant workers in particular. And one of the sectors where there's been extensive exploitation has been the care sector. And when you deal with individual cases and when you come across the issues that they face, you know what exploitation is within our economy and you recognize the scale of it. Christophine is originally from Nigeria, now a co-worker in Salford. She's a long history of the labour movement in Nigeria, but she's personal experience of exploitation in migrant care workers as they arrive in Britain. This is going to be one of the key issues we as a union face. And Christophine is, I think, could be one of the key players in turning this union round in tackling that issue effectively. Christophine.
Hi, comrades. Just like he has said concerning my journey, it's a personal experience. No one told me about it. I experienced it. So I came from Nigeria with my family, applied for a job. Everything was going on well, got the job, the sponsorship letter came, and then we moved on. But before then in Nigeria, right from my primary school, I was bullied. My sin was because I was always coming first in the class at the end of the term. So they made things so difficult for me. But one day, I told myself, are you gonna continue this way? I said, no, I got to school that day. My bullies came as usual. I didn't tell anyone. I fought them myself. And then they cleared. I said, okay, if I was going through this, that means a lot of children will be going through the same. I had to speak up. Some children came up and said, yeah, they go through the same thing. I had to organize right from when I was in primary school. So it continued. At the end, I was made the head girl. I went into secondary school. the activity, the spirit kept, growing in me to recognize that some people are being exploited, bullied, and all that. Got into the university, the zeal continued to keep pushing for people that cannot speak. So that has been my stories in Nigeria. I was involved with our presidential elections, where I campaigned, rallied, and then delivered my polling units. Then I came over here to work. I was thinking it's gonna be fairer than where I was coming from, but it wasn't what I expected. So I came into the country. I don't know, the address that my employer gave, I've been using. I dressed up to go to work, to report to the office, got into the building, and I was told, there's nobody like that. I said, for what? I showed them the address, I showed them everything. They said, they don't know anybody by that name, no company by that name. I called up, I had to skip session until I got a phone call from them. Don't worry about the address. We're gonna communicate to you through the phone, through phone. I said, no problem. At the end, I was given a placement. Few months into the placement, the license was withdrawn. But before then, when I started the job, I had already known that things were not going on well. I can't see my employer, I can't see my colleagues. Am I working with ghosts, or was I employed by a ghost? I had to quickly search which union do I need to belong to. A friend of mine suggested UNISON. I quickly got involved into UNISON, and not just getting registered, I became active immediately. So when the job started, I thought every of my worries were gone. Few months into the job, the license left. It was revoked. My employer just called us and said, stop coming to work. I said, okay, no problems. I quickly rang my chapter, Salford chapter. They all ran to our rescue. We came together, organized. My colleagues, I got all of them signed into union. We went to the council, demanded for an alternative employment through the help of Stephen, Andrea, even though she's in Bolton, but she still got involved. Then some other people from the chapter came out and helped. These were my actual employers. That's what I always say, because they are the people that I know and not people that brought me. So at the end of the day, we were provided with another employer, some of which my colleagues are now in NHS. They've all gotten the jobs. I've gotten mine, but I decided to be in social care because I like being involved with the community. So, but Andrea played a vital role there. Just like every one of my colleagues here have mentioned, comrades, she gave us a listening ear. She was always involved. Even when she won't be there, she will still call you to say, how did it go? She became the person that we know. My colleagues too, I always tell them about her. So why am I supporting her is because even when it wasn't her concern, she didn't bring us, but she came out and shouldered our pains. She made sure that we were all sorted. So that's why I'm talking to my migrant friends, colleagues, because our numbers, we are here in mass to come out and support her. Because if she helped you when you didn't have anything, or she didn't have anything to lose, or she didn't bring you, what about when you finally identify with her? It's not just about helping you get this or helping you that, but she believes in what I believe. So when I came across to her, I said, she's got the same spirit. She's got the same belief I've had, which is fairness, justice, and in solidarity. Because it's not something you will do all by yourself. No, you need people by your side. So that's why I said myself, you, and every other person listening to me should come together so that we'll support her. Because we can't just talk. Yes, when we talk, we need our person to be in there to help us deliver whatever that we've said. Because if we don't have someone in there that will help us get it back, or that will help us deliver whatever that we want or we've been promised by the politicians, then no job will still be done. So we need your support to help push her to get there and then represent us as the General Secretary. Thank you so much.
What a team. I don't know why they asked me to chair these things, because Christopher and I always get people's names wrong. Okay. Sorry for that, but that was terrific. One of the areas we'll be campaigning on as a union is to translate the commitment that Labour gave to the biggest wave of insourcing in a generation. And if you look at where the outsourcing has impacted upon people, it's largely migrant workers and migrant care workers in particular. That's why having Christophine on board is absolutely key in the work that we do in this coming period. Okay. Our next speaker, I'll use her title better, the next General Secretary of UNISON. I've already said what I think about her, but I tell you, when it's the point that Christophine made, when you're in a campaign or a battle or a struggle or whatever, I can't think of anyone better to have my back than Andrea Egan. I can't think of anyone better to be there in solidarity. Andrea Egan.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to the ones that have spoken tonight, this evening. Your contributions have really been powerful and been really moving, so thank you very much. I want to thank everybody as well that's turned out tonight. It's incredibly exciting to be part of a campaign with you all. And UNISON activists really are the backbone of our union. Your hard work is what makes everything possible. Together, we're building a union that will fight and win for every member in every workplace. And without being over dramatic, which I have been accused of that, we can make a real difference. So many workers, and for so many workers and for their families. And I feel lucky to have the support of such a dedicated and proud trade unionist. I really hope that everybody here can be part of the campaign in whatever way you can be. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about myself and who I am. I am a proud working class woman from Bolton. I'm straight talking, I am hardworking, and I'm honest. And I'm always prepared to listen, and I'm always ready to learn. I started my life as a low-paid social care worker, and then I became supporting vulnerable young children, and then I became a qualified social worker. And working with people who have had been dealt a difficult hand in life means I see up close the injustice in our society and the need for real change. I know that many of our members experience the same in their jobs. We are a public service union. Helping others is important to us all. I started work in 1987, becoming a member of NELGO and then UNISON. I first became active as a steward more than 30 years ago. I've led many campaigns and disputes in my branch and in my community, holding a variety of positions, champion for people to stand up for their rights. I'm currently the branch secretary of Bolton Local Government Branch, as well as serving on the National Executive Council Committee. I was elected to the NEC as part of Real Time for Real Change, a group of rank and file UNISON activists determined to make our union democratic, transparent and successful. A fighting union that wins for its members. And since we secured the majority, we have fought successfully to support our branches, our low-paid members, women, disabled, black and LGBT plus members. I've also supported our black members to push for UNISON's first race discrimination inquiry. And as president, I was instrumental in pushing forward our Organising to Win strategy, which has started to achieve real victories where it's been implemented, putting money in the pockets of our members. And I'm delighted to say that these changes helped our membership start to grow again after years of decline. And last year, we saw the biggest membership growth since the birth of UNISON, something we should all be proud of in this room, because we were all part of that. And I truly believe in a member-led union where workers' voices are listened to and their fears and their hopes are acted upon. And it's the best way to win in the workplace and to change workers' lives for the better. However, myself and Time for Real Change comrades have been prevented from doing more by a minority who don't want to see change in our union, who have got too comfortable with the status quo and increasingly disconnected from UNISON members, prevented from doing more by those who see the priorities of the Labour Party leadership as more important than the interests of our UNISON members, prevented from doing more by those who aren't prepared to stand up and fight for UNISON members when it's needed. And it's now time to put members in the driving seat. So I'm standing to be your General Secretary because I believe our union must change. We have seen the desire for real change from the grassroots, but we must change the attitude at the top of our union. To turn UNISON into a fighting union that wins for members, it needs a fighting General Secretary alongside a fighting NEC led by Time for Real Change activists. I've fought for others my whole life, and I'm absolutely ready for the fight ahead to fight for you. UNISON. UNISON's the biggest trade union in the country with 1.3 million members and an income of almost £200 million. So with these resources, we should be a powerful force to be reckoned with. Unfortunately, the current General Secretary and her allies have held us back. They've not developed the profile, the presence, or the power needed to convert UNISON's size into improvements to pay conditions our members desperately need. And UNISON has failed to win successive national ballots whilst other public sector unions have succeeded. It is just not good enough, and it has to change. To win for members, we need to be able to deliver strike action when it's required. And without that, this government simply won't take us seriously. And where trade unions in Britain and beyond are succeeding is where they've prioritised organising the members to take collective action. If elected as General Secretary, I want organising to be the centre of everything we do. We've seen that in places where activists have adopted organising to win, we've won. I've been proud to stand on picket lines up and down the country, and particularly with healthcare assistants last year who got organised, and they've won successfully over £100 million in back pay. That is the sort of union I want to be part of. And that is the sort of union I want for all workers. Now, the leader of our union has been too slow and resistant to implementing democratic decisions, including policies decided by activists like you at our conferences. And this has resulted in a disempowered membership, top-down decision-making, bureaucratic inefficiencies and waste. Our democratically agreed policies should not just be words on paper. UNISON members' decisions should be turned into action. And I'll conduct a comprehensive review of our union machinery to ensure we effectively implement them decisions and the policies decided by us, the members, in partnership with elected lay officials. And I'll review and improve the support branches do receive from the regional offices and our legal services. Now, many may be shocked to know that our union has never had a General Secretary who comes from the rank and file of our union. I believe that this has created a disconnect between the union leadership and members. In addition, the eye-watering £166,000 pay package of the current General Secretary means that their life is far removed from most ordinary UNISON members who earn a fraction of that. So I'm campaigning to be the first branch activist to be elected as General Secretary. And if elected, instead of taking that £166,000 pay package, I'll take the wage of a social worker. And more importantly, I'll give that money back to members through the welfare funds and strike funds. And my pay will go up when your pay goes up. And this is the sort of leadership I believe in. So, now, like you, I was pleased to see the Labour government agree to pay rises for public sector workers last year. But these did little to make up for the years and years of loss. But I'm concerned about the current plans for pay restraint in the future. UNISON is affiliated to the Labour Party. We donate millions of pounds of members' money to the Labour Party. We are the Labour Party. Labour's programme should reflect the demands of trade unions like ourselves. So why is it that time and time again, Labour's leadership has reneged on promises to our union? And why, rather than holding them to account for the broken promises, does UNISON's leadership defend and often facilitate Labour's betrayals? Take the New Deal for working people. This package of employment rights reforms have been repeatedly watered down by Labour with the approval of our UNISON leadership. And what started as pledges to ban fire and rehire and introduce sectorial collective bargaining across all sectors was reduced to vague restrictions on fire and rehire and sectorial bargaining in adult social care only. And then, last week, we saw the Labour government renege on its manifesto commitment to create a national care service. Now, throwing the issue into the long grass with a cross-party commission set up to report back in 2028. UNISON barely a peep about it. So if you think that West Streeting has any intention of actually delivering a genuine national care service in 2028, then I've got some magic beans for you. I won't sell them, I'll give them to you. Our union has been played like a fiddle because our leadership has put the Labour Party before our members. If I'm General Secretary, it will be UNISON first, not the Labour Party first. My priority will be following UNISON policy, not Labour policy, and this means no more blank cheques. So let's be clear. If Labour wants our support, then they'd better deliver. Because if we're giving millions of pounds to the Labour Party, how's that value for money? We are a public sector union, which means that politicians make decisions that directly impact upon our members' pay, terms and conditions. So we must hold this government's feet to the fire, and regardless of who's in power. So if you look at the news this week, you'll see that the UK economy has come under pressure from financiers looking to pressure the government into delivering policies that make them more profit. And this has led to the Treasury to warn of difficult decisions. Well, whenever the Treasury talks of difficult decisions, you can be certain that it's the working class that's going to be robbed. Yeah. So it's been reported that public spending cuts are now planned by Rachel Reeves. It's as if the Labour government hasn't learned anything from the last 14 years. The Tory cuts, they've cut our services, they've cut welfare, and they've cut the welfare state to the bone. Look around our country and the devastating consequences, it's clear to see. Public services are on the knees, high streets are crumbling with rising poverty. Labour voters didn't vote for cuts, and UNISON members did not vote for cuts. So let me be absolutely clear. If I'm elected General Secretary of UNISON, I will publicly oppose any cuts to public services in our country. I'll publicly oppose any further privatisation and outsourcing of public services. And I will publicly call out the greed of bankers and bosses being rewarded by pinching the pockets of our members. And I want to see our organising strategy move into full flow. There's more wealth in our society than ever before. The problem is it isn't shared fairly. It's being hoarded by a small elite. And the answer's simple. Tax the rich and the big businesses. Stop taking money from public services, which we all rely on. It's time the Labour government stood up to the rich and powerful and defended the interests of working class. But if they pursue the destructive path of further austerity, then UNISON has to lead a campaign to stop them, alongside our comrades in other unions. The government will undoubtedly come under pressure from business and finance to further weaken the Employment Rights Bill. And I can assure you that I will lead a fight against any further watering down of pledges made to our members. Labour's promises must be delivered, or they'll find themselves in conflict with UNISON if I'm the General Secretary. It's time to make a stand, and I will be the voice of the workers for and against the Labour Party. So UNISON should be truly inclusive, and this will be a priority if I'm elected. There's no place for any form of discrimination in our union, and I've consistently opposed all forms of discrimination, including racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, ableism and ageism, and I always will. I'm committed to supporting the work of our self-organised groups to combat discrimination, build awareness, and to ensure the voices of groups who suffer discrimination are fully represented. So within the first 100 days of being elected, I will convene a joint meeting of self-organised groups to identify what their core demands are and ensure that they are put into practice. Our young members have so much enthusiasm, knowledge and energy, but it could be channelled much more effectively. I'll create a leadership school to build the political education, the confidence and organising skills of our young members. At the end of the other scale, our age spectrum, we have over 170,000 retired members who should be an incredible source of change in our union. So I'll look to make this change happen for them, to be more inclusive, to garner the wealth of experience that they have to offer. And we also need to recognise the value and challenges of our devolved administrations. So I'll work with our lay activists to make sure their power is fully harnessed. The working class is international. Our union proves it. We have members who come from all over the world, and many more who are descendants of immigrants that come to Britain to help rebuild our country after the war. So whilst UNISON's primary focus is to fight for our members' pay, terms and conditions, international issues will always be important to our union. What happens here is connected to what is happening in other parts of the world. Events along way away can have a huge impact at home, as the pandemic, climate change and numerous wars have shown. So I'll ensure UNISON plays a leading role nationally and internationally in combating climate change, because as the news last week showed us, that in 2024 it was the year we surpassed 1.5 degrees of global warming. So if we don't take appropriate action now, then the planet will be unlivable before too long. And that is not a legacy we want to leave our young members. So I stand in solidarity also with persecuted trade unionists in all countries. I genuinely believe that an injury to one is an injury to all. And I will be fearless in speaking out in solidarity with oppressed people across the globe. And that means proudly standing in solidarity with the people of Palestine. It means not being afraid to speak truthfully about the horrors unfolding in Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians are being indiscriminately massacred. Israel politicians talk openly about wiping Gaza off the map and stealing the land of settlers. Well, when it looks like a genocide, and when Israel politicians talk openly about genocide, then we must call it a genocide and do everything we can do to stop it. I'm really disturbed at the moment by the Labour government's refusal to take action against Israel for its crimes. After over a year of slaughter, it's shameful that arms continue to flow from Britain to Israel. As an affiliate of the Labour Party, UNISON must condemn the government's support for Israel and say, not in our name. So I'm going to recap. I've made 5 very clear pledges today that will transform our union. 1, winning for members. 2, creating a members' union. 3, putting UNISON first and the Labour Party second. Sorry, John. Creating a truly inclusive union. And a union, 5, a union that's truly international in words, but more importantly, in action. And this is what I stand for and what I'll deliver if elected as General Secretary. I believe we have a chance to make a real difference, a real chance to change the entire machinery of our union. A union that has an income of over 200 million can do much more to improve the lives of our members at work and beyond. So I'll end it with this. I'd like to end it by thanking you all for coming tonight. The vision for change is not mine alone. It's a collective vision developed by activists across our union who believe that UNISON can be so much more. This campaign needs to be a team effort. We all have a role to play. So if you're not already signed up, then please do by either speaking to me or one of the team after, or by going on the website for andreaforgeneralsec.org.uk. I don't have any big money backers. So this campaign will be powered by ordinary UNISON members. So if you can support what we're doing, then please donate by visiting the website, or there's a bucket as you go out, or there's card readers at the back of the room. And I'll use every penny to support my campaign for General Secretary, but also to support Time for Real Change candidates in similar campaigns such as the NEC elections. And when I look across the room, I do see, activists amongst us here, and I see that passion. And I really do believe that, we've got everything it takes to win in the workplace. Thank you for coming. Solidarity.
We'll just ask people to indicate if they want to raise some questions themselves, yeah?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you everyone else on the panel. It was absolutely inspiring. But my question is about the Labour Party. I've been a member of the Labour Party for my sins for 40 years. I'm still a member of the Labour Party. However, you've already spoken about a lot of the issues, and we can add more to that, like the winter fuel allowance and the talk of further austerity, which I know John has said is political suicide. And we still have the situation of things like water and privatisation and further cuts to public services. And I think we want more of an outline of how and what we are going to change about our relationship with the Labour Party to make the Labour Party actually fight to stand up against the Labour Party and not just be a cheerleader for the Labour Party. Thank you.
Shall I bring a range in?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. All right, okay. So a bit of gender balance.
Thank you. I'm Jordan Rivera. I'm an NHS worker, and I want to ask a question about our union's work in the NHS. So we've had a decade of cuts in the NHS, and now people think that the new government's made this fantastic investment in the NHS, and sadly it's not enough at all. Our hospitals are struggling to pay their bills more than they ever have, and I know that's the case with my hospital. And meanwhile, we've got Wes Streeting calling the NHS broken, and he seems to be committed to giving money to the private sector. That really should be going to the NHS. So, Andrea, when you're elected, I want to know what will you do to help NHS branches to win ballots and to help us defend our NHS against privatisation?
I want to try and make sure we get a spread of people who I know from different sectors as well.
Thanks. My name's Liz Wheatley. I'm currently on the NEC and one of the London region reps, and everybody who's spoken has been too shy. Andrew is standing in the NEC elections that just nominations have just opened for Time for Real Change in London as well, and Jordan is standing in the NHS as well. And I think people should know that there's a whole team of us backing Andrea first of all and wanting to stand with her. But actually, I was really, really glad that Andrea spoke at the end about Palestine, because I think it's a real litmus test for where people are in society today. And she's absolutely right. It's a genocide. We should call it a genocide. But I also think the point that she made about public sector workers, we're hearing that we're going to get our services cut, but there's no talk of cutting the amount spent on war. I think trade unions have a particular role they can play, actually, in all kinds of issues, but on something like Palestine, because we have, I suppose, a social weight in society that means that we can try and get things changed. So it was asking, really, what do you think we can do with you at our helm to try and make sure that we do that we do bring about change in what's happening in Palestine. Then specifically this week, we've seen the police trying to ban us marching on the BBC, which is absolutely disgraceful. And I think your ideas of what we can do to get UNISON to challenge that an awful lot more, because it's been left down to lay members to do that. Thanks.
I'm keen to get someone on social care. Is it Paul at the back who was indicating on social care? Yeah. I'm trying to get, I know virtually everyone here, so I'm trying to get the different sectors in because we're covering everything we possibly can. Okay, the response.
Hello, I'm Paul Windsor. I'm also a member of National LGBT Plus Committee and a member of Somerset Local Government Community Branch and a social worker like yourself. So my question is about the National Care Service. You very clearly said that it looks as though the current government's kicking it into the long grass. As our next General Secretary, what are you going to do to make sure that the National Care Service is high on the agenda and that we actually see it coming into place?
It's okay, and then I just want Glenn to do a few minutes on the organisation where we go from here.
I'll be quick. Lois Founds, we're a local government branch. So many of our members in schools feel overworked and underpaid. So how will we organise our members in schools?
Well, actually, when you said, shall we take them all together, I kind of started panicking because I've got a terrible memory. I write everything down and I thought, oh, I ought. But actually, just bringing all your questions together, I think there's some commonalities. You know, we're a trade union movement that covers all sectors. So I think the issue for us shouldn't just be about one particular sector. I think it's about our attitude about protecting and fighting for all the services that we work within. I mean, clearly the first bit is we've got to really, when we talk about the relationship with the Labour Party, we really have to start. I mean, I'm not a Labour Party member anymore. They didn't like me, so they expelled me. So that'll be an interesting conversation, won't it, in them first few weeks. But I think that has always, I've never, since being expelled, I've always believed that we should have a party that is there for the working people. And I think at the moment, they're not representing that. You just have to see, don't you, in the first months of coming into power, you know, the 2-child cap, the energy. I mean, the Tories give people energy grants. They come in and they stop that. So you just realise, don't you, that they're not working in the interest of working class people. So we have to put UNISON first. If that puts us in conflict with the Labour Party, then I think we might have a difficulty about having discussions with them because we might have to part ways. we might not be able. I mean, we have got a labelling that's democratically within our union, but I think sometimes many people feel that we're not able to get close to that and we're kept at arm's length. But I think we have to seriously start sitting down and having a look at that, because that's a small part of the union, which then frustrates a larger part of the union on some of the decision making. For instance, when Keir Starmer stood, the union backed Keir Starmer, but many of us had never even been consulted about that. So it's got to be sort of rebalancing, hasn't it, the relationship, and probably just putting our interests first, and where we need to have a fight, we have the fight. But I think the commonality then about the services, whether that's schools and the triple SMB, I mean, again, that's on the agenda, but it's been on the agenda before. And we all geared up for it, and then it disappeared. So I think whilst things are great that they promise us, we've got to drive our own campaigns and our own priorities, because we cannot rely on them to deliver for us. And that goes with the NHS. As I said, I'll sure out my magic beans, because Wes Streeting is going to do nothing for public services. So I think there's an element of concern that we shouldn't be going into these next, months with them thinking, oh, putting our faith. We have to drive the campaigns from with our union, so that when they make announcements, we're ready to go, not relying and going along with them thinking they're going to give us a national care service, they're going to, protect the NHS, schools. We know what they did in the last term towards the end. They sold our schools out to academies. That were Labour government, so I think we don't concentrate what they're doing. I think we concentrate on what we're doing. And our Organising to Win strategy, some people talk to me about the Organising to Win strategy, saying, well, sometimes that puts members off because that's all you want to do, talk about strike. But it isn't. Organising to Win is simply that. Organising workers to come together, to have a stronger voice, to build confidence, to shift the power back into the arena of the worker. And sometimes that means you can win. You don't have to take industrial action, just seeing that power. So I think some of the questions as well that I don't want to get into, I really believe in a member-led union. I think it would be disingenuous to stand here to talk about kind of what policies I'd want to push. I will be the voice of the membership. Members decide at conference, and I think for too long decisions are made and others take that power from us. And that is what has got to be restored, so that you as members, when we go to conference and decisions are made, you will feel confident, if I'm the General Secretary, that what you decide, there will be our challenges, there will be our campaigns, and there will be our fights. Stop this words, it's got to be action. So I don't think I've answered everything quite individually as what you wanted, but I think we needed to talk about the wider picture, because it isn't just about schools and social care. You only have to look at the energy, transport system in the country. The whole lot is absolutely a mess, and we've got to find the answers from within ourselves through our conference decisions, and then prioritise where our campaigns are going to be through the Organising to Win, which is about putting power back with the members and with branches. So I'll leave it at that.
There'll be lots of time for discussion and questions as this campaign goes on, and we'll go into all the different policy areas in more detail. But so that'll help. But that's what Andrea set out as the general strategy and theme. It's about a democratic, rank and file-led union, and as a result of that, we get better policy because our members are on the front line. They know how to deliver these services. Okay, we've got a final speaker. It's Glenn Williams. Most of you know Glenn. He was a founder of Time for Real Change, but let me get his titles right, okay? He's the chair of the largest service group, local government. He's part of the Northwest Regional Secretariat and he's branch secretary on Merseyside. Now, I've got a thing here, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, that Glenn's greatest challenge will now be to speak for only 2 minutes.
John, thanks very much. That's an absolutely brilliant introduction that I wrote. Glenn Williams, as described, personal capacity, of course, and first-time speaker. I'm going to ask you, my role is simply, everything I'm telling you has already been referenced. You've got 4 sets of actions, and this should be relatively straightforward. Under the 4 headings of nominate, sign up, share, and donate. In terms of nominations, Liz Wheatley's already referenced the fact that the nominations for branches has already started. It finishes beautifully on the 14th of February, and I would love so many headquarter machine hearts to be broken when they see how many nominations are going in from Time for Real Change candidates. That would be fantastic. That has to be our aim, to get more branch nominations between now and the 14th of February. And even if you're in a hostile, you know you're on your own, raise the profile of Time for Real Change, get them nominated between now and the 14th of February. So nominations are absolutely crucial. And if you need any help with that, as has already been referenced, there's a fantastic team behind this. So nominations are crucial between now and the 14th of February. Sign up. What do we want you to sign up to? We want you to sign up to Time for Real Change through the website. We want you to sign up to Andrea's campaign. You can see it on the bottom, andrea4gs.org.uk. We want you to sign up 4 or 5 comrades, if not more. The more that we have, the more the voice. There are so many hundreds of thousands of people who are disengaged and crying out for the leadership that you've heard, for the type of activity, for the type of organisation that you've heard today. So we want you to sign up. We want you to sign up for the phone banking that will take place before the voting occurs on the 21st of April to the 21st of May for the NEC elections, which Andrea is a part of. Again, we'll get the details out to you. We want you to sign up to help to give out leaflets at regional councils, at regional committees, at all the conferences that are coming up. We want you simply to be there with us, helping distribute some of those leaflets, which will be produced with you and for you. But the signing up of 4 or 5 comrades is really important. So we want you to nominate, and we want you to sign up, and we want you to share. We have an absolutely fantastic social media team. You've seen some of the evidence around the publicity that's come out. And we don't want those resources wasted. We want you, I can't believe I'm telling people about how to use social media, but apparently we want you to share things, we want you to like things, we want you to positively comment on Time for Real Change things. We want you to tag, and we're getting there, Ed Whitby, we want you to tag things. We want you to do all the things that everybody else in this room, bar me, knows about in order to get that message out. It's really crucial. Social media is a really powerful tool, and we've got Instagram, we've got X, we've got Blue Sky, we've got Facebook, we've got a whole raft of things that everybody else on this panel could tell you about. It's really important that we start to share. That will create part of the platform of organising that we're talking about. And Time for Real Change does what it says on the tin. So it is time for real. And when I say change, I don't mean that dosh in your pocket, I mean real change. We've got high-tech card readers in the room, and we've got low-tech buckets. That's the spectrum that we provide for in Time for Real Change. And if you're watching this online, we'd ask you to donate by going either to the Time for Real's website, Time for Real Change website, or again by the andrea4gs.org.uk. Because as Andrea said, we will have no big backers. And comrades, we are on the verge of history here in changing fundamentally the biggest single organisation on the left, that could be on the left in Europe. And you have to be part of that, as do 4 or 5 or 10 or 12 or more of your comrades. Get them involved. We've got to nominate, we've got to sign up, we've got to share, and we've got to donate. And I look forward to the day when a member-led union has a branch activist leading that member-led union as our General Secretary. Solidarity, comrades.
Thanks, Glenn. 90 seconds. Incredible. Incredible. Can I thank everyone for coming? We filmed this evening, and it's gone out on the internet and all that. So we had large numbers of people register for all of this to participate in it. I want to thank you all for coming. If people haven't seen the room, it's a packed room and lots of activists here, which is really good. And I just think it's inspirational what we've heard tonight. So I want to thank all the speakers, but I also want to thank all the organisers as well for setting this up. Okay. Can I just say, for me, I've been 50 years in this union, and this is probably the most important set of elections that we've ever had, because it means really It means for me getting the union back again to what it originally was, which was a rank and file led union representing working class people. And these people, if we can elect them, will help us as a team to deliver that. So solidarity to you all, and thanks for coming along.